Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Surf Air Mobility. This was a stock analysis request from one of the followers and I wanted to let you know that anyone can make these requests and I will most likely cover them, especially if there is an actionable trade setup to follow. Now in the case of this chart we are dealing with an all-time downtrend. Now this isn't necessarily the most suggesting structure that we would continue to the downside. I could count it even as a 5-wave structure, but the idea is we will explore even possibilities for continuation to the upside. Now we will use this structure to draw a general area of resistance, which we can determine that has proven quite relevant multiple times, especially at the relevant levels, the 61.8% retracement, the 50% retracement, and even around the 38.2% retracement. We did find resistance and it was often also used as support previously by the chart structure. Now internally, within this movement to the upside, I could argue that this is an initial wave 1 up. It could be within something like a leading diagonal, but we do need to be very much aware that this could be a WXY pattern that has unfolded internally, and even on the larger time frame I could argue that this is a WXY pattern where I could consider a larger correction in something like an ABC, where the wave B would be able to be complete at this point, even reaching the golden ratio. And we do need to be very much aware that there is a realistic risk that we may be heading to new all-time lows in general. Now, with that said, we use general guidelines of small positioning, of general risk management guidelines to be able to enter positions on such charts, because it is possible for me to also consider this as a wave 1 up, a wave 2 down here, and it does in that case have quite heavy potential of having here internally a 1 2 and then this another 1 2 setup, where now we could be heading into a third wave to the upside. Now it is a little bit on the unrealistic side. I do have scenarios that would probably be harder to break, because in the case of this idea of a 1 2 3, something like a 1 2 and a large wave 3, I would need the price not to break below the beginning of this internal 1 2 setup, where it is around the $2.3 level. If that breaks, it is impossible for me to actually consider anymore that this is a third wave developing to the upside outside of a larger leading diagonal, which honestly would be a bit difficult to find an appropriate count for based on the internal structure of this initial wave 1 up. So it might end up being part of a larger, more different correction, or not necessarily correction, a more different pattern that could be unfolding to the upside, because in the end it could still turn out to be something like an ABC that could still unfold in this area, and it would be perfectly fine. But unless we start a very strong uptrend from around this area, we do need to form a little bit further on the structure. It is also quite on the risky side even at this point, especially in the smaller time frame. But for now, I could be looking out for support in such a 1 2 setup. Now again, it's not a high probability. It is a good risk reward ratio setup, but it's not a high probability setup, where this wave 2 would be allowed to have the correction unfold in the levels between the $5.7 level all the way down to the $3.2 level. Now again, below the 78.6% retracement, it becomes unlikely that it would still work out. It's not formally invalidated. For that we would need to break below the $2.3 level, but for now we can still track here an idea that this could be developing as something like a 1 2 1 2 setup. But it did already retrace quite deep within this internal 1 2, so I don't necessarily have too high hopes for this idea, and I would be quite prepared for further continuation to the downside and a reset here within this wave 2. Now it's not formally invalidated, this 1 2 setup. We do need to break below the beginning around the $4 level, the beginning of this wave 1, for it to be invalidated, but I am watching out for a possible extension here of something like an ABC pattern that would be unfolding to the downside, where we had an initial wave A down, something like an A, B, C within the wave B, and now a 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th to the downside in the wave C. And in that case, we can even add an extended count. Now, I will track this in a different color because, yeah, technically it is still possible to push directly higher. We do have this possibility, we do have the technology, but for this yellow interpretation, which I find even in the bullish scenario more likely, I would be looking for further downside, where in this case I would be watching for resistance for such a wave 4 in the area. Actually, this is the wrong wave, but it's in the area between the $4.4 level all the way up to the $5.1 level at the 61.8% retracement, and as long as that holds, we are still looking for lower. Now, honestly, even this structure to the downside doesn't look clearly as a three-wave move part of a wave C. It does have more of a WXY pattern look, and in that case, I would be prepared for this to have an extension within the wave 3, where this would be an ABC pattern to the downside. So yeah, even in this case, I would allow all the way up to the 78.6% retracement for a more complete lookout on the resistance front, where yeah, we really need to break above the $5.4 level to have any clarity that we may indeed have already bottomed. Yeah, this is for the white interpretation, where we could be tracking here a possible 1, 2, 3, 4th, and the 5th. And then if we, however, break below the beginning of this wave 1, we could still be tracking an initial leading diagonal to the upside, where this would be an ABC in a wave 1, but then we would need to form a larger structure within a leading diagonal, where we would still not be able to track the start of a clear third wave to the upside, and in that case it would become extremely unrealistic. So for that reason, unless we manage to push directly from this internal 1-2 setup directly higher, I would be considering most likely that yeah, this direct breakout from this wave 2 into the third wave has failed. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.